Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to this spotlight session on the Earth and Atmospheric Science program at Lausanne School of Engineering. I am going to start by introducing myself. So, my name is Julia, and I am a third year. Well, I just finished my third year in the Earth and Atmospheric Science program at Lausanne School of Engineering. Um, a little bit about me is I grew up in London, Ontario, and then I moved from London in September of 2023, and I moved to Toronto. Um, I have been a YAS executive, as YAS executive this past year, but I will also be an executive this upcoming year. YAS stands for the York Atmospheric Science Club. I started last year. I was a first year ambassador, so I tried to connect all of the first years with each other, kind of make sure everybody knows each other. And then this upcoming year, I'm going to be a vice president. I've been a student at Environment Canada for 2 years now. I have been on a national project, but now I'm moving to the Ontario Storm Prediction Center this summer, which I'm super excited about. And a little bit about me is that I really want to get into traveling a little bit more. So this past summer, I went to Portugal for a week and it was really quite beautiful. All right. So in today's spotlight, we're going to cover a few things. We are going to cover a program overview so you can get a little bit of a better idea of what the Earth Atmospheric Science program is like. And then I'm going to show you some of mine, and I'm sure also some of my peers' favorite courses that we have taken so far. And we are also going to discuss some of the things that we do in this program, some of the skills that we learn. And yeah, sorry, I flipped this slide on accident. Um, and yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about co-op, some extra support that students have at York. And I'm also going to be answering some frequently asked questions that you may have. And then a live Q&A. So, program overview. So, what is Earth and Atmospheric Science? The core of this program is studying how physical processes, so like processes in the atmosphere or the ocean, change things like our weather or our climate. This program is the only program, atmospheric science program in Ontario, and is a blend of a bunch of different subtopics. So obviously meteorology, but also we cover lots of climate science in our classes. We also do some planetary physics, a little bit of data analytics, some coding. So you're going to learn a lot of different skills in this program. Some possible places you'll go is you can become a meteorologist, an atmospheric or a climate scientist. So if you're interested in going into like the research side of things, that's always an option. And then also a weather and climate data analyst. So what can you do with this degree? When you apply, and at this stage, I'm pretty sure most of you have applied, you're going to be admitted as an Earth and Atmospheric Science major. Once you've completed your first year, you can enhance your degree by adding another major or a minor or some certificates. We have lots of options. So, adding a major or a minor. So, you can add programs to major and minor in within arts, media, performance, and design, so AMPD, You can do environmental studies. You can do health. You can also do some Lassonde programs as well, or liberal arts and professional studies, or science. But it's important that you check the policy to make sure that you are able to do that. If you do have questions about if you're wanting to major or minor, you can always ask our academic advisors if you want clarification on something or you want to check the policy. So some examples that you can major or minor in is physics and astronomy or math. And then a lot of people come to York for the certificate in meteorology. So this is the definition given on the website, and it says provide a 1 year fall/winter specialist education in atmospheric processes to those students who have already completed a university degree in physical science or applied mathematics, thereby preparing them for careers in atmospheric science. So if you are a math, you have an undergraduate degree in math or physics and you want to get into meteorology, you can always take the certificate courses, and that will be a year long. However, if you are an undergraduate student and you are already completing these courses in your degree, they're similar, if not the exact same, to the courses you will take mandatory to get your Bachelor of Science. So if you are an undergraduate degree in the Earth and Atmospheric Science program, you will already be getting the certificate. So you don't need to take an extra year. But if you are someone who's coming and you already have a degree, it is a 1 year certificate. All right, some highlights of this program. Some favorites with myself and my peers are listed here. To start off, you can see in the course code that there's an acronym that starts with it. That is the department that the course is offered within. So ESSE stands for Earth and Space Science and Engineering. And the first one that I have listed here is Introduction to Atmospheric Science. So this is your first look at what is atmospheric science, because your first year courses are going to be fairly general. You're going to have your math, your physics, your chemistry, but having this course in your first year makes it really exciting because it's your first look at, oh, this is something that I'm interested in, maybe not interested in. So it gives you a chance to kind of take a look at it. The course itself looks at the origin, the composition, and the vertical structure of the Earth's atmosphere, and even touches briefly on that of other planets. Also look at things like global atmospheric circulations, weather systems, different measurements, and different types of weather maps. You're going to take a first look at how to analyze different weather maps, look at some atmospheric chemistry, the ozone layer, pollution, stuff like that. And there is a lab for this course. Definitely a favorite. The next on this list is ESSE 2010, which is Introductory Meteorology. And this is more towards meteorology, less so atmospheric science, like it's more specialized. So you're going to look at atmospheric radiation, different thermodynamics of the atmosphere, clouds, different types of precipitation. You'll learn how to read vertical soundings. I'll show you a picture on the next slide about vertical soundings and what tephograms are. And there's also going to be an introduction. Yeah. You're going to look at atmospheric motion on different scales. So global scales, really, really big scales. Synoptic, slightly smaller. So you're thinking about like pressure systems. And then you're going to get even smaller. You're going to go to meso and micro scales. So lots of different scales of dynamics in the atmosphere. The next course is ESSE 2020 for an Introduction to Climate Science. This is your first look at climate and sort of how that works. So some key features of this course are basically the physical and dynamical processes responsible for maintaining Earth's climate. Going to look at different components of the climate system, energy balance of the climate system, different radiative processes, the hydrological cycle, general circulations in the atmosphere and the ocean. So lots of things to learn about. And then there's also going to be rules of these processes in both global mean and regional climate. So once again, those different scales. You're going to look at both annual mean and seasonal mean conditions. Yeah, very first look at climate. So that is very exciting. And then the last course I have listed here is ESSE 4240, Storms and Weather Systems. So it's exactly what it sounds like, is you're going to be looking at different types of storms. So thunderstorms, hail, snowstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, lots of different things. And we sort of looked at those individually. And then at the end, we did a project where we picked a major event of our choice and we sort of researched it to an extent. Some technical skills that you'll gain from this program are understanding how atmospheric processes shape the weather. You'll learn how to read weather maps, satellite imagery, radar data, and more. You'll learn GIS, which stands for Geographic Information Systems. So basically, it's mapping geospatial data. And then you're also going to do a little bit of coding, and most commonly we use Python. So here's a little slide I put together of some of the things. Here is a video. This is from the ESSE 2010 class, and it is the infamous tornado in a box lab. So what it is it is a bowl of boiling water, and then you put dry ice in the boiling water, and you turn on the roof of the box is a fan. So you turn the fan on, and then this mini tornado occurs. And I'll play the video now. It's not the best quality, but it's all I have. And then we were doing things like, and you can see my peers measuring the diameter of the tornado, and you can see it's rotating quite fast. Over in the middle here, the top middle, this is what I was talking about earlier, and it's called a taphogram. So these taphograms are retrieved from weather balloons. So you release a weather balloon in the air and it floats up, and you can get all these different measurements from the various levels. So on the right here is the temperature. On the left here is the dew point temperature. On the y-axis is pressure. On the x-axis is temperature. And then on the right side, you can see that there are various wind barbs. So this gives meteorologists and other scientists a good idea of what is happening in the different layers of the atmosphere. You'll learn how to read those. So the bottom middle, I included a screenshot from the EMOS website, or ESSE, Meteorological Observation Station. So we actually at York have a weather station that is maintained by our professors. So it is located in the roundabout outside of Tate McKenzie Gym, and it measures various things. You can see it in the picture here. Wind, air temperature, ground temperature, dew point temperature. It also creates plots, and it also archives this data. So if you want to go back and look at it, you are more than able to. And then on the right here, I included a picture of a little field trip we took with the York Atmospheric Science Club where we went to the King City radar. So you can see it behind us, quite large, and then all of us in front of it. And we did a little tour and we learned lots about kind of the instruments that they use there and how to read radar. Right? So, future ready features. So, how our program stays ahead. So, labs, if you don't know what labs are, is they're kind of like an experiment in a way, but they're hands-on and they help you apply what you learned in your lectures to like something that's actually hands-on. Tornado in a box, as I showed you. And then we also decode meteorological aerodrome reports or METARs. So that is also a lab within ESSE 2010. There are various hands-on projects. Just to list some of them, is we have the storms weather systems course, which I mentioned before, with the historical storms project at the end. And then also the Geographic Information Systems 1, where we were able to pick our own topic and do a GIS project. So I included a picture of mine and my partner's project, and we were looking at if wildfire smoke in the atmosphere affects the development of tornadoes or tornadogenesis. As you can see, the dots on that map is data from the Northern Tornadoes Project, and we mapped that. And the blue dots, or the blue contours, you can see there are density, like the densities of the dots, and the behind are various polygons, which we took the wildfire smoke data and basically analyzed it to see which areas have highest concentration, and then we tried to look for a correlation. On the right here, you can see we have the York Atmospheric Science Club. So I highly recommend joining this club if you have any interest in weather or climate, anything to do with that. You are more than welcome to join. You don't have to be an expert, but we go on lots of fun little events and it's really good for networking. So some of the events that we go to is we go to Environment Canada for a weather discussion, but we also go to the Weather Network for tours. We do various social events. We did the King City Radar tour. Lots of opportunities to go places and get involved. Meet new people. That's always important too. All right. So now we're going to go on to co-op and extra support. So to start co-op, you start applying in your second year or after your second year. The co-op department offers various supports, so cover letter workshops, resume workshops, mock interviews, and more. So you're not gonna go in unprepared when you get an interview for a job. The average salary for an Earth and Atmospheric Science student is $22.56, and I recommend doing co-op because it just helps you get a foot in the door with an employer. If you meet people, you network in your job, you may end up actually getting a job after graduation. So it's definitely good to get work experience. On the right, I've included some top co-op employers that we have: Environment and Climate Change Canada, the Canadian Space Agency, the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, and I see that I've accidentally included that twice, so apologies for that. But you can see there are government positions. Yeah, lots of opportunities. There are also various research opportunities if that's what you're interested in. So there is the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada, or NSERC. They offer an undergraduate student research award, so URSA, that you can win. So you apply and then they look at your application and see if you're eligible type of thing. And then there's also the Lassonde Undergraduate Research Award position. So below, I've included a screenshot from their website. So you gain professional research lab and conference experience. So I should specify these research opportunities are with a professor. So you're gonna help them out with one of their projects. It helps you prepare for graduate school. So if you are interested in doing a master's, this is definitely something that you might want to consider. And you're able to apply that knowledge that you've learned and get paid. So win-win. Some extracurriculars. I have talked a little bit about the York Atmospheric Science Club, or YASC, but there's also Women in Science and Engineering. They do various networking events. Different competitions are the WX Challenge. So what that is students will register in teams and then you create your own weather forecast. And it's a challenge to see like who gets the most accurate weather forecast. Different events, which I mentioned a little bit before, is the weather discussions at Environment Canada, King City Radar, which I showed you a picture of. The Weather Network tours are also a huge hit. So below the extracurricular section in the middle, I have included a picture of one of our weather discussions at Environment Canada. This was with meteorologist Ryan Rosinskis, and I believe we did a case study of the Dunrobin tornado, I believe. Yeah. And basically, you can see on here, he has some radar scans that we're looking at. And then internships. So I talked a little bit about co-ops earlier, but not a lot of Earth and Atmospheric science students do co-op. Most of us do internships. Not to say that you can't do a co-op. You absolutely can do a co-op. All students at Lausanne have the option to do a co-op. But you also have the option to do an internship, which is just the opportunity that most of us took. So some of these internship opportunities is the Canadian Severe Storms Lab. So that is an opportunity that is based out of Western University. And I've included a picture. They come to York every year and they talk about their projects that they have going on. So they have the Northern Tornadoes Project, the Northern Hail Project, the Northern Mesonet Project. And here we can see that they're talking a little bit about what you will be doing for each of those projects. You have the opportunity to ask them a bunch of questions. We also do internships, which is what I do at Environment Canada and WeatherLogic Inc. We typically will send an email with these opportunities to keep all of the students updated and informed. All right, so some student support and resources. We have free peer tutoring offered weekly for mainly first year classes. So this is going to be your calculus, your linear algebra, your chemistry, physics, that type of deal. And it's very useful to help you build that foundation in your math and your science. Also very helpful for preparing for midterms and exams. Highly recommend you go to those. They're run out of Bethune College. We also have student counseling, health and well-being supports, which support our students' health and well-being and academic success through counseling, health services, and peer education. So now I'm going to cover some frequently asked questions that I get asked a lot as an ambassador for the Earth and Atmospheric Science program. What made me choose Lassonde and this program? I chose this program because of I had a really strong interest in weather and convective storms. Growing up in London, we had quite a few good thunderstorms, and oftentimes we would get tornado warnings. And I guess that kind of just piqued my interest in the topic itself. And then I educated myself more on it through middle school. And then in high school, I decided that this was the career that I wanted to pursue. And because I already lived in Ontario, it just made sense to go to York. There are some other programs, but they're further away. But I wanted to stay close to my family to be able to drive back and forth pretty easily. Now that I'm at Lassonde, though, I am quite glad that I picked it. I would like to emphasize that this program is quite small in comparison to engineering, for example, but that means that we are very tight-knit. We have a very close community with our peers. York Atmospheric Science Club allows for students to have interactions with upper years and lower years. So we all know each other essentially. And because it is a smaller program, we don't have as many professors. So that means that we're also pretty close with our professors. So you get to know professors, you get to work with them, learn from them. And that really helps just build the community further. So it's not just with students, it's with the staff too. Also, a really good pro is that York is known as a commuter school. So if you don't want to live on residence or you live in the GTA and you would like to commute, it's very commuter friendly. There are two subway stations on campus, lots of buses going in and out of York and around. So very easy to travel to York. How can I tell if this program is the right fit for me? Obviously, if you have an interest, like a really strong interest in climate or meteorology, you will really enjoy this program, I think, quite a lot. And I'm speaking mainly on there are different streams. So we have the atmospheric science stream, but we also have the space science stream. So in my experience, I'm in the atmospheric science stream. So I talk mainly on that. I don't know much about the space science stream, but in terms of the atmospheric science side of things, if you have an interest in meteorology or climate science, you're like really pumped up about that. That's awesome. And I think you will really enjoy this. You, it's very heavy in math and physics, I found. So if you are pretty good at that, I think you will do well. But if you are not, don't worry. You have lots of time to work on it. Um, but yeah, if you enjoy math and you enjoy meteorology, this is definitely for you. You will be able to tell in your first year if you're like, this is terrible. You are always able to change your program as well. That's also another option. So if this is not right for you, no worries, you can always switch to just a lot of students go through and they feel like they're stuck, but you're not stuck. You can always change what you're doing. What has been my highlight of my time at Lausanne so far? So definitely the York Atmospheric Science Club and just the community around this program is something that I did not expect from York. I went through most of high school not knowing anybody that had the same interests as me because it is such a niche interest, right? So being able to be around people that are like-minded and being able to talk to them, become friends with them has really been such a fun experience. And I would say that's definitely my favorite. I enjoy going to the socials that the club runs, but also, yeah, just being in classes with my friends. Classes, once you get past first year, classes really get quite small because your first year is very general, like your calculus, your physics, chemistry, etc. Um, but in your second year and third year, classes get small really fast just because the program is small. So you'll really get to know people. And everyone in this program is super kind, super sweet. So yeah, I think that just the community, the very tight-knit community, has been my favorite. Advice or tips for someone starting the program? I would say a big thing for me personally was I went through high school not really studying much, and I didn't really know how I learned. So coming out of high school and going to university felt like a bigger change because a lot of university is teaching yourself and being able to comprehend material when that's like a lot of material, right? Um, so for example, if you have 5 classes at once, sometimes managing time can be a little hard. So knowing which how you learn, like visual by listening type of thing, that'll really help you prioritize your time a little bit better. Other advice I would have for someone starting the program would be to ask questions. Um, I talked previously about the community and being close to the professors, and I think that it's really important to ask them questions. And if you have misunderstandings, it really accelerates the process of learning if you just ask right away when you're confused to seek clarification before the topics start to build, right? Like if you're having trouble in calculus 1, you're going to have trouble in calculus 3. So just being able to ask those questions, go to office hours with the professors, ask the teaching assistants for assistance if you have a question is all really, really important. That also helps you build relationships with professors and teaching assistants, um, which can be very rewarding. To add on to that, um, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, just ask questions. Don't be afraid. University can be very intimidating when you start, but yeah, please don't be afraid. Ask questions. If you are nervous to go to a professor, you can always ask your peers or even the York Atmospheric Science Club with your fellow students for your students, and we can most likely find an answer for you if you're a little bit too scared to ask, which is a-okay. Um, and yeah, so this section is a live Q&A, but there is nobody who joined this session presently. Um, so a little bit of some information for you is that we do host weekly Lassonde tours. So if you are interested in seeing campus and our facilities, by all means, please come and visit us. We have them all through the summer. We also have more of these program spotlight sessions. So if you're interested in something else, feel free to take a look. There's one for each of our Lassonde programs. There are also some drop-in sessions, and we also have a podcast where um, students and various people come on to the podcast and talk about their experiences that they have. In the top right, you will see ask@lassondeschool.com. That is the email for our recruitment and admissions team. So if you have any questions about like your application or something very technical, by all means, send an email. You'll get a very detailed answer. And then in the Lassong community, in the bottom right, the Lassong community is a Discord server. And in the Discord server, we have ambassadors from each of the programs. If you have specific questions about like a course that somebody may have taken, or you want to talk to the students about student life and kind of what it's like at York, I would say that would be your best bet to get it if you want a student perspective. You're able to ask current students, but also future students who are maybe starting at the same time as you. Highly recommend you visit or join the Lassong community. And yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for watching. And please, please, please keep in touch. We will always answer your questions and future events. You can see spotlight sessions are listed under the Discovery Days by this link. So feel free to browse, see if there's something else that you like. And yeah, don't hesitate to send an email. Don't hesitate to reach out. All right. Thank you very much.